Everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 16 and compare it against the Google Pixel 8a and see which particular phone is the better one for you. Now, these two phones are very interesting because there is some overlap, some differences here and there. I will say if you're trying to pick up one, if you want to pick up either one, links are down in the description for the ones that I find for the cheapest prices. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both, the Google Pixel 8a, which came out a little bit earlier this particular year, on the front side of this phone is giving you a 6.1-inch OLED display. It's a pretty good panel. It's a 120Hz display, 2000 nits of brightness. The viewing angles themselves are pretty solid. It also is an always-on display as well, which is really nice. And I will definitely tell you this is a pretty good display. Hole punch display, fingerprint sensor in the display as well. You are getting more bezel on this iPhone than something like the iPhone 16, but I still think it is a pretty good looking device overall, and it still looks pretty good. On the iPhone 16, on the other hand, this iPhone is giving you a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. So it is, I would say, slightly better in some ways than the Google Pixel 8a. For one, less bezel, but it is a 60Hz panel. This is a 120Hz panel, same amount of brightness basically, but you are getting a bigger amount of, I guess whatever this is, a notch up top, for the most part. And also there's no fingerprint sensor in this display either. The Pixel 8a, I would probably say, has a better display than the iPhone 16 without a doubt. The rest of the bodies are kind of similar, like they feel relatively around the same. So they both are giving you these kind of like flat sides. The iPhone 16 is completely flat. The Pixel 8a is a little bit curved. Up top, just a microphone up here. At the bottom, you are getting USB Type-C ports on both of these phones. So that is something that is really nice here. I like being able to go through and just have USB Type-C built in inside of both of these devices, and that is essentially what's going on here for the most part, which again is a really nice thing to have. I will say though, the Pixel 8a's port may be a little bit more useful just because you can video out a little bit better, but other than that, kind of the same thing. A dedicated camera button on the iPhone 16, which is really cool. To be honest, I haven't really used it that much, but it's still a really nice feature to have. The Pixel 8a doesn't have it. Power buttons, volume buttons on here, basically relatively around the same thing, to be honest. Now the back is a little bit different. So the iPhone 16 is giving you a frosted glass back that feels very, very good and very premium. The Pixel 8a is giving you this frosted plastic back. Now personally to me, I think a lot of people would probably agree, the plastic back, it feels okay, but it definitely does not come close to the actual glass back on something like an iPhone 16. If you're going to go through and get a certain back on a certain device, definitely with something like the Pixel 8a, it is so much better, and this is the one that I personally prefer. With something like the iPhone 16, this is the one that I personally prefer, not the Pixel 8a. I think it's kind of clear in this particular case as well. Now on top of that, on the iPhone 16, you're getting MagSafe capability here, which is really cool. The Pixel 8a still feels very good for it being built out of plastic in the back, but otherwise that's kind of how both these phones kind of compare here. Now on the front side, or in terms of software, another very big thing going on here is the software longevity. The very cool thing here is that both of these phone manufacturers are doing a really good job at maintaining their phones for a long period of time, and the Pixel 8a is pretty much going to be lasting for a long period of time here as well. So that is something that's really nice. You're probably going to be getting like another 5-6 years of software support on something like the Google Pixel 8a. On the iPhone 16, it's probably going to be closer to 7. So if I'm going to go and pick up a phone that's going to be a longer lasting phone, it probably is going to be an iPhone 16, but it's still going to be close, and I think that's a really cool thing going on here. But if you're trying to pick up the phone that's going to last longer, it probably is going to be the iPhone 16 as far as I can tell. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there too. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 16 has that Apple A18 chipset inside of it with 8 GB of RAM, where the Google Pixel 8a has that Google Tensor G3 chipset inside with 8 GB of RAM as well. So let's go and see which one's a faster phone between both. Okay, let's go and see how they kind of compare from this side. Let's open up phone calls, 3, 2, 1. Okay, nothing super crazy there. Camera, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Kind of the same thing too, not that big of a difference. Let's go into their Play Stores, 3, 2, 1. And that kind of covers it up there. Okay, this is kind of roughly around the same thing. Not anything super crazy. Let's go and scroll through here, and I don't really think there's going to be anything wild here. Hopping out of both of these, let's go and get into some other applications. Let's go and get into Stack, 3, 2, 1. And it looks like, okay, one is playing some sound. I don't even know what it is. Kind of close, not the biggest difference in the world. Getting into the actual game, let's see if there's anything super wild, and I don't really think there's going to be. Hopping out of both of these, snake versus block, 3, 2, 1. And with this one, you can kind of see that the iPhone 16 here, I think, was the faster one there for the most part. Let's go and get into the actual game itself again. Nothing super crazy here as far as I can tell, but relatively kind of the same. Hopping out of both of these. Snapchat 321. I will say though, with the iPhone 16, even though it has a 60 Hz panel, it's still actually pretty smooth. Tempo Run 2, 321. But definitely when you're actually looking at them, the Pixel 8a's display is just so smooth of having 120 Hz. But no, that doesn't trickle down to the games. The games are still going to be relatively around the same unless games support ProMotion or 120 Hz display. This, I don't know what's going on. Usually the Pixel 8a is not going to be that slow. Maybe because this one already had the downloading content thing, it already went through that. But that was kind of an interesting thing that was kind of going on there too. Even when clicking play, you can see the Pixel 8a just a little bit slower. I would imagine that the iPhone 16 is probably the faster one almost every single time. Subway Surfers 321. So this game as well, like even getting into that splash screen, different things like that. I'm not really too sure. It seems to me that it's overall going to be a faster experience majority of time on something like the iPhone 16. So even getting into the game itself, there was a little glitch there where it wasn't there on the iPhone 16. And you can kind of get to see it kind of for yourself. Hopping out of both of these, let's go and do one more. Let's go and do something like, what other ones do we have? We can do this, thank you, I guess, which I don't even have here. That's weird. Oh, I do have 3, 2, 1. So I think after looking at a few of these particular videos or these games that I've opened up, it looks to me that the iPhone 16 is probably the faster one a majority of the time. And that's kind of what happens here when you're getting these types of devices. So from that side, from the speed comparison, that kind of covers it up there for the most part. In terms of the cameras, this is also something else very interesting going on here. So they both are giving you dual camera setups, both wide and ultra-wide cameras. So that is a really nice thing to have here if you're able to go through and get a wide and ultra-wide lens. The Pixel 8a is also giving you an ultra-wide camera on the front, which is kind of nice. 4K 60 on the back and 4K 60 on the front of the iPhone 16. The Pixel 8a does 4K 30 on the front, so not 4K at 60, which is kind of weird. You would expect it to have 4K 60 at this point, at least on the front and back lenses, but that's not quite the case. The camera lens itself is probably good for a lot of people. So you can zoom in 8x, you can zoom out on the outside, 0.5x zoom, portrait mode, long exposure mode here, you have night sight, panorama mode, and then you have a couple of more modes here and there, but they're really kind of basic modes. The Google Pixel cameras used to be super solid, but they're not really as great as they used to be, but I think they're still good enough for the most part. I think that's a really cool thing going on for this type of camera, but it's definitely not like a perfect lens. I think the iPhone 16 camera is probably more kind of like brag worthy. So with this type of phone, you're able to get the capability of kind of clicking it in, and you're able to zoom in and out via the zoom in and out button, which is kind of nice. I don't know why it's not working right now. Oh, this is Snapchat. So that is kind of a nice thing going on here. I do think with the stock camera app, you're able to do 10x zoom, so more zooming in than the Pixel 8a, 0.5x zoom on the outside, video mode, cinematic mode, time lapse, portrait mode, spatial mode, panorama mode. So definitely still some really good options with the iPhone 16 type of camera, which is still very nice. So to kind of sum it up, it's interesting. I think both these phones are very good. They have their own strong suits. I think the iPhone 16 is a faster phone. It's a phone that's going to last a little bit longer, and you're getting better cameras inside of the iPhone 16 as well, which is really cool. So I think this is a phone that, for a $829 phone, it's probably not the best $829 phone out there. But when it comes down to these two, this is probably overall more like well-rounded phone on the exterior and the interior here and there. But the Pixel 8a is giving you some cool things too. This phone is giving you still a 120 Hz display, which is really nice. A very bright display. Still a very fast phone, a phone that's going to be cheaper than the iPhone 16 in the brand new and used market right now. And it's still a really good phone. So that's kind of how both these phones kind of compare. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.